Thanks, Matt Brown, for stopping by Junkie Radio. Great to have you as a guest. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How's this thing work?
Okay. Yeah, Matt is also in the chat right now. And
I already did that.
oh, what's up?
Thought Max were supposed to be better.
Me too. I don't know. Maybe it's a little slow. Goes, you want to check that out, or?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, Jay's on it.
All right. Matt will hopefully be in the chat soon. But anyway, Matt, congratulations, man. I know some of this is going to be repeated of what I said out at WEC. I saw you outside the show, and great performance.
Thank you.
I mean, overall, just whether it was grappling, striking, you were relentless and effective. It seemed like you just were, comfortable, in control. It was awesome, man.
Thanks, bro. Thanks.
You know, because James was he's a tough fighter. I know he's coming from the Ultimate Fighter, but he's had a lot of pro fights. He's well rounded. He trains with some good, tough guys. And I just knew that at any time either guy could catch the other guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he even went as far in the third round, the Kimura. You know, I mean.
Yeah. He was close before that too with the ankle lock, and I even said it before the fight, man. Like, a lot of people weren't giving him much props, you know, and I was like, man, I've seen this dude fight. You know, I know who he trains with. You know, I know the extent of his skills. As I mean, the dude's gonna be tough to finish, and he's a tough guy. You know, I didn't actually think he'd be as tough as what he was, but you know, I knew that he had a lot more to offer than what people were giving him credit for.
Yeah, and you were on his home turf. You know, a lot of people were cheering for him. That's definitely can't be easy. I think there was 16,000 people at the MEN Arena.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure you've come out of that feeling like, man, that was a good day's work. And I'm sure after seeing the video, you have to be pleased with the level of your skill set and how good you're fighting.
Man, yeah. I mean, I think I made lots and lots of mistakes in that fight.
Oh yeah.
I think I could have finished that fight a lot earlier than I did. I made a lot of little mistakes. Just I've been training with Matt Hume, and he's so good at critiquing your game that now, like, when I watch myself, I'm like I see so many mistakes now. You know what I mean? Like
what can you share with us as far as
like, for one of the biggest things is for that Matt preaches a lot is passing guard. So a good example would be, like, I hit him with the knee. He fell down. I went straight to his guard and started punching. I should have just passed his guard and finished the fight. And there was a couple of times when I could have passed the guard. When he actually had that ankle lock, I mean, that was something we drilled extensively in practice, just constantly, over and over in practice. And I did exactly what I wasn't supposed to do. I let him get my ankle, and he actually went for it a little bit differently than what I'd seen in his videos. So. And that's James Wilkes' style. Like, he has so many different submissions from so many different angles and so many different ways to go for him. From training with Eric Paulson for so long, he's an encyclopedia of submissions. So I knew he could bring things that I wouldn't see on video. And but had I maintained my base properly and done what I was supposed to do, then he would have never got that submission. And I ended up, getting in trouble for it. And, obviously the Kimura I put myself in, he only did half of that. I put myself in that position. That
just comes from experience, where you can learn how to avoid putting yourself in that position, and at the same time, once you're in the position, remaining calm and just executing the escape.
Exactly. Yeah. Experience. And, again, just having the right instruction and, the right people to, tell you what you're doing wrong. And, I'm fortunate to have Matt Hume in my corner to do that. A lot of guys, their coaches, aren't going to, critique them in that level. And Matt's definitely the type of guy, he doesn't care. He's going to tell you, how it is. And, I could go on all day about things I did wrong in that fight. I felt like I ended up winning that fight more on just gutting it out and, having a little bit more heart than him, and being fortunate to get off first get my punches off first a few times. And, so I hit him first, and that was able to wear him out a little bit. And there's just I could literally take every piece of that fight and show you things I did wrong, from beginning to end. So, I got so much to work on. I could go on all day about it. But overall, I'm happy I got the win, and
but you were probably fired up about a lot of the stuff you did do too.
Yeah. I mean, it's good, to
walk away to some of that stuff.
yeah, that's true too. It's good to come away from a win and be able to say, I need to fix this in this, rather than come away from a loss and say I need to fix this in this. So it's it turned out to be a good thing, and the good thing about a fight like that is he's the type of guy. We went to a lot of different positions in that fight, so I can evaluate what I did in lots of different positions. It wasn't just a stand-up fight, or just a grappling match or whatever. So I can really evaluate my entire skill set from a fight like that.
Our former co-host, Frank Trigg, when he used to broadcast for Pride, one of the things he looked forward to the most about the trip was being able to work with Hume for a couple days leading up to the event and all that. And he used to say, man, he used to make him cry, man. At the end of the session, he'd go, man, I thought I was doing good, but look at all these mistakes I'm doing. But he said the time he spent with him was, the best thing he could have done.
That's funny. I've heard about a lot of people crying that go up to Seattle. It's funny, man. There's been a lot of people shed tears. Yeah. I don't want to name any names. There's a lot of guys that's shed tears out of there, and I mean, and to me, I like that, man. That's Matt's the type of guy, he's going to tell you how it is, man. If you can't handle it, if you got some thick skin,
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, after the fight, what did he compliment you on?
Mainly, it was the. Just my heart and my mental preparedness.
You didn't downshift very much. And I think that for James, there were moments where it seemed like he did, and that's when you were able to win some of those scrambles or whatever. And that goes back to the hard work, man.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was a lot more gassed than what you might have thought. The jet lag had bothered me a lot, and had I not been in as good a shape as I was, it would have hurt me worse. But, that jet lag, man, I was, all week I was perfectly fine. But then, as soon as that, walking out to the cage, man, like I didn't even feel like going out there, man. Like, usually, you get real restless, and, you're intense and you're hyped up, and, the crowd's got you going, whatever, and, I walked out there like, damn, I don't even feel like doing this, man. And, I've talked a lot before, maybe not to you guys, but, to various people. I do a lot of what I call mental conditioning, mental training, and I attribute that to that win more than anything because, I went out there and I didn't feel like fighting, but, I was able to get my mind into the mindset that I needed. I had to actually force myself to do that. I wasn't walking out there in the right mindset, but I had to force myself into that mindset, and that's a part of the training of the mind. You don't just just automatically do that. If you don't feel like fighting, you don't feel like fighting. And I actually had one fight before where I had that same feeling. I ended up losing in the third round to a definitely a lesser guy, and and so that was that was kind of when I I decided, that I need to, work on my mind even more, and I've always been, I feel like I've always been, a mentally strong fighter, and I think it's always been one of my strong suits, but just because you're strong in an area doesn't mean it can't be better. So, I attribute that win more than anything to just my mental